Almost all American journalism is controlled by a few massive corporations. News Voice is a one-of-a-kind mobile app that tracks the bias and corporate interests that infuse the news stories we consume every day, and it's completely free to use. Go to newsvoice.com/Pakman to download it. We have newly released audio of Donald Trump, and the audio exposes Donald Trump, I guess, pretending during a call with governors that he hadn't heard about coronavirus testing being a problem. Now, you know, and I know that lack of testing has been a problem for months now. It's been a topic at almost every single White House coronavirus press briefing. But Trump is, I guess, gaslighting governors, saying testing, people can't get tests. I haven't heard anything about that lately. So this call took place Monday. This was with governors from a number of the different states, and Montana governor, Democratic governor in a red state, Steve Bullock, explained we don't have tests. And Trump says, I haven't heard about that issue. Testing is a problem. So let's go to the first clip. You're going to hear Dr. Anthony Fauci in the audio, and you'll hear Governor Steve Bullock, and then you're going to hear Trump. So first, Fauci is explaining to Bullock, what you want to do is you want to test people and then contact trace people. And Bullock says contact tracing, we're almost out of tests here. Take a listen.
Do you have any system in place that you feel can adequately identify cases and isolate them and contact trace them, or are the capabilities and resources there that's not something that you can do given with what you have?
Yes, Dr. Fauci, we are trying to do contact tracing, but literally we are one day away if we don't get test kits from the CDC that we wouldn't be able to be tested in Montana. We have gone time and time again to the private side of this, the private market, and where the private market is telling us is that it's the national resources that are then taking our orders apart. So we're getting our orders canceled. That's for PPE, that's for testing supplies, that's for testing equipment. So while we're trying to do all the contact tracing, we don't have adequate tests to necessarily do it. We don't have the PPE along the way, and we're not finding markets to be able to do that.
So understand, Dr. Fauci is saying, what you would want to be doing is when people test positive, you've got to isolate them. And then you've got to do contact tracing in Montana, figure out who they've been in touch with and isolate those people. This is how South Korea did it. They had their first case essentially within hours of the United States having its first confirmed case. And they dealt with the virus successfully, still not even 200 deaths total in South Korea. And Governor Steve Bullock says contact tracing, we're like a day or two from having no tests at all and having no PPE left, personal protective equipment. So now we continue with the same audio, and you'll hear Donald Trump jump in and say, I haven't heard about testing being a problem.
Along the way are private suppliers. So we do have to rely on a national chain of distribution, or we're not going to get it. But we are doing our best to try to do exactly that in, Gallatin County would be an example, where we have almost half of our overall states, those are the positives. So we're trying to shift the supplies to really isolate that and do the contact tracing, but we just don't have enough supplies to do the testing.
Tony, you can answer it if you want, but I haven't heard about testing in weeks. We've tested more now than any nation in the world. We've got these great tests, and we come out with another one tomorrow where it's, almost instantaneous testing. But I haven't heard about testing being a problem.
That version of Trump that we see at the briefings, where he says, hey, we're testing more than anybody else, we've got the best tests, that is apparently not a character. That appears to be the real Donald Trump that shows up to the governor's conference calls as well and says, testing, I don't know about any problem with testing. We have people waiting 8 days for test results. And anecdotally, we have people waiting even longer if and when they can get a test, which not everybody can. There are hundreds of people, thousands of people who are recovering from the virus before they even get their test results, if you can believe it, because that's how long it's taking. Do you guys think that Trump is even thinking about this stuff between press briefings? Like, I like to imagine, that a president is working all day on this, despite having, an almost totally clear schedule, which Donald Trump has had, But then he comes out with this testing. I haven't heard about any kind of testing issues for weeks. And you have to wonder, is he just doing Golf Simulator and eating his famous taco salads all day and not thinking about this whatsoever? He even talked about testing this week. He was asked about testing this week by reporters. It led to the entire per capita, 38 million people live in Seoul, South Korea embarrassment. How can he say he hasn't heard anything about testing for weeks? A reporter asked him about it the same day or the day before that this conference call took place. So the question, as often is the question with Donald Trump, is he merely ignorant? Is he impaired and his memory is failing him? Is he just lying to governors and gaslighting them? What do you think is going on here? What do you believe explains Trump saying, I haven't heard anything about testing for weeks now?